TECHDECKS have a problem, and today I'm gonna fix it. Welcome back to another video. Anyone who's into fingerboarding knows the shape of a fingerboard. Something that's pretty easy to notice is a pro board is obviously better than a tech deck. Like, it just makes sense. Really expensive and hard to find, super easy to find, and really cheap. I don't know, it kind of makes sense why one is better than the other. But when you actually identify like what actually makes a tech deck worse than like a professional board, it's actually pretty close. For starters, a tech deck is obviously made out of plastic and a pro board is made out of wood. But there's actually been companies out there like Dynamic who actually went ahead and made a professional board out of plastic. Some of you probably remember I used one of these Dynamic setups for probably like 2 months, and it was like one of my favorite setups. Besides plastic being a little bit heavier and a little bit softer when you pop the board, not a whole lot is different. So why do tech decks just feel terrible? There's a couple of reasons. If you place a tech deck on a pro deck, you can see that the tech deck has like a really long kind of nose and tail that overhangs. It's even more obvious with the Dynamic board. Now this is pretty much just personal preference, but I've actually never really seen anyone like the feeling of having a long nose and tail. Everything just feels a lot more precise when you don't have like that unnecessary length. In the past, I actually have made a video where I pretty much just shaved down the nose and tail, but there's still one thing about a tech deck that I don't like the feeling of. And the main thing is this weird flat spot kind of on like the sides and middle of the board that just does not kind of feel good. If a wooden board had this shape, there's nothing you can do. But lucky for us, tech decks are made out of plastic, and plastic can melt. Basically what this means is we can pretty much reshape an entire tech deck. We got to take the grip tape off pretty much before we do anything, so let's do that. Everyone tells me you can get grip tape off super easily if you just heat it up, so we're gonna heat it up. I'm gonna try and use this and attempt not to just like melt the board. That would sort of not be good. That was just too easy. I don't think I've ever gotten grip tape off that easy and all in one piece. Shout out to like 500 comments that told me to do this like 3 years ago and I just like never listened. That was like super easy. So to reshape a board, humans are pretty bad at doing that. Humans are like not precise at making stuff. That's why like the second we knew how to make something, we made a robot to make it for us. Instead of hopelessly trying to shape a board by hand, we're gonna put it in a mold. The goal is to heat up the board just enough where we can kind of like flex it around a little bit, but not too much where it's like a liquid. I'm gonna use this thing to heat up the board because it's going to be a lot more precise than trying to use a flame. This fingerboard mold is made from a 3D printer and it has all these like 3D printing lines on it. Something that'll probably happen is there's going to be lines kind of all over the board where the mold was like touching it. I want to put some tape on the inside of the mold just to make it nice and smooth. I have the mold ready, so it's time to fix a tech deck. The board looks maybe a little more like glossy, which probably means it's getting a bit softer. The board's like, dude, look at the board bending. All right, I think it's probably good. We're giving the board CPR. I'm pushing down as firm as possible just so we can like make sure the shape is there. It's been about 30 seconds, so the plastic's probably cool. Okay, on the top side, you can still see the lines and you can also see the lines on the bottom, but there's definitely a lot more of like kind of a round shape happening now. I'm gonna get the plastic a little bit softer and try it again. See if this worked a little bit better. That's quite a bit better. You can still see a faint spot where like the lines kind of used to be, but it's rounded out so much. Looking at a different tech deck, you can see that the lines are like pretty sharp and pretty aggressive. And now on this board, they're rounded out quite a bit. I want to put this in the mold one more time just to get it a little bit better. That is actually quite a bit better. After doing this 3 times, this is a lot better. You can still kind of see where the lines were, but it's kind of interesting because that's just like a little bit of a bump now. I'm guessing these boards have a little bit more plastic kind of where it bends there. I'm pretty sure it's like if you had a bent piece of plastic and melted it and straightened it, you'd still kind of see where that bend was, because this is like completely round, but you still kind of just see those lines. On my main setups, I prefer a little bit of a steeper kick, so I'm just gonna bend these up a little bit. Maybe this is the move. I don't think there's any other way to shape a board in real time just to make it exactly how you want. The angle of the kicks are looking pretty good, but we still have a little bit of a long part on the nose and tail, so I'm just gonna sand that off. Okay, this thing kind of looks unreal. For a tech deck, that is. If you look close, you can still kind of see those lines, but it's so much better. Also, the shape of this board is so similar to the Dynamic one now. I also made the nose of the board a little bit boxy, kind of like the Dynamic board, and it looks pretty similar. I honestly think this board is gonna feel pretty good when it's set up. This setup doesn't even look too bad. I thought it would have like a cheap kind of look and feel and it would pretty much just look like a tech deck, but I'm kind of impressed at just like how much this doesn't look like a tech deck. Time to do some maneuvers and see if this thing actually feels good. Kickflip test, may as well give it a go. That was so bad. Try number 2. Second try, we'll take it. I'm kind of impressed. This doesn't feel bad. Apparently this is possible. Once again, doing this is just like personal preference of what you want a board to feel like, but I would definitely say most people don't really like the feel of a tech deck. So it is pretty cool that you can pretty much just make it however you want. The fact that you can just adjust the board however you want just by heating it up is pretty cool. I want to hear what some of you guys think about this board and what you would kind of just do different about it. So go ahead and drop a comment. If anyone has questions about doing this to a board, go ahead and drop a comment and I'll try and reply to as many as possible. I appreciate you guys watching and I'll see you in my next video.